Welcome into another episode of NESG podcast. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Ian Mann, and we are in the wild card weekend. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cover those matchups. We might review a couple games that ended the season, but there wasn't a lot to really talk about. A lot of the seeds were already, sewed up and stuff like that. There was a wild ending with the Raiders game and the Chargers game. That could have been interesting. But the big topic before we get to those matchups and the Patriots playing the Bills wildcard preview is Black Monday. A bunch of coaches got fired, a couple surprises out there with Brian Flores, David Culley, and we'll get into some of the reasons behind some of that. The college football championship was also played this week on Monday, and Georgia ended up winning over Alabama. We'll go talk about that a little bit and maybe talk about some of the players coming out of that. But before we get into all that, let me bring in my co-host, Smitty. Smitty, what have you been up to?
What is uppy? It's good to be back here in Maine. I took a trip to a couple different cities this week. Monday, I flew to Denver and was in a town. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it's called Florissant, Colorado. It's a couple hours south of Denver, a little west of Colorado Springs.
You used to live in Denver.
Yeah, but not that far south. I lived like north of Denver. So everything south of Denver, I'm not quite sure what's going on there.
It's a great state.
What's that?
It's a great state.
Oh yeah, that would be the only place I'd want to live outside of Maine. So I was there, flew to Buffalo, New York on Wednesday, was in Buffalo. I actually had lunch right across the street from Highmark Stadium where the Patriots are going to play the Buffalo Bills this evening. We're recording on Saturday before the game starts. So I was there until yesterday. I flew home. Was pretty nice. I didn't have any delayed travel like a lot of people have been experiencing. There wasn't any weather. There wasn't any shortages. So it was really nice.
Did you say you were in Buffalo?
I was.
Did you jump through any tables?
I didn't
driving around. Did you see random people getting thrown through tables?
I didn't. I did want to do something to sabotage the Bills. I was right there. Saw their practice facility. It's right next to, again, Highmark Stadium. That stadium.
If the Patriots win, you're stealing all the credit.
Yeah. 100%. That stadium, I've never been there, but on TV, it looks way better than it does in person. That stadium looks old and run down, and it doesn't look great.
Speaking of which, that's what they need. They need a new stadium, and they want to make it like a dome, so they're not affected by inclement weather. But okay. Buffalo has always played in the cold, so I don't know. I feel like that would take away from some of its
some of the luster. It's like putting Green Bay in a dome.
Yeah,
doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So the owners of the Bills, they're looking at getting a new stadium, but the question is, don't make the taxpayers pay for it, type of thing. NFL makes enough money; they don't need to.
Oh, but they're gonna cry and say they need to make more money, or the town or city or whatever to share the $1 billion it takes to build that. Where that stadium is, there's plenty of room to build
another one,
maybe across the street or whatever, because across the street look like a bunch of the parking lots. But if you just basically flip-flop them, start building the stadium in the parking lots, it's going to be a shit show until the stadium's built. It'd take a couple of years. But once that's built, it makes the whole thing look so much better. So
but anyway, a lot of places do. They build the stadium, then they just demolish the old one right next to it.
Yeah, and then turn that into a parking lot and take care of it. So,
but I think they should keep it outdoors, sort of like how Minnesota, did with Target Field. Like they didn't build a dome; they kept it outside.
Target.
I know it's a different sport. Yes.
Okay.
But Minnesota was worried about playing in Minnesota, and they're like, we need a dome. And then they're like, nah, we're just going to build a nice field.
That Target Field is beautiful. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yeah.
They actually had the Winter Classic game there, which was the coldest Winter Classic game, I think, maybe ever.
I mean, they haven't had that many of them, so.
Well, they've been doing them since like 2010.
How cold was it? Because it was 0 degrees here or -8 like 2 days ago.
I don't remember exactly, but I think it was -2. And then with wind chill, it was like -14 or something like that.
Yeah, earlier this week it was -8 at night. When I woke up this morning, it was 0.
Yeah, my truck, when I was on my way to your house, my truck did say -2. So it was a pretty cold morning. But and of course, because I was traveling all week, I wasn't able to stay in the driveway, so I had to do it this morning, the coldest friggin' day we've seen so far. But anyway, getting back to it, last weekend we went skiing over in Auburn. That was a lot of fun with Casey and Patrick. Patrick started skiing on his own, like 100%. So a lot of fun there. And then what else is going on? Yeah, I mean, lots of stuff going on in sports. You good?
Yeah.
Okay. Lots of stuff going on in sports. The last weekend of football. I wish the Patriots would have won. I know it would. Well, what it would have done was made the Patriots go to Cincinnati instead of Buffalo this week, which I'm not going to lie. Not that I'm not that scared of either team, but I think playing Cincinnati would have been better than playing Buffalo.
Yeah, and some of that is just perception.
Well, not only that, but like
division rivals, they play you tougher.
They play you tougher and they know you better and everything like that. So I wish, again, I wish it would have been a win week 18, which is still weird to say. Week 18 in Miami. Patriots didn't look very good in week 18. But anyway, those are the things I got going on. I'm actually home this coming week, which I'm pretty excited about. And then I have to travel the following week. So anyway, I just got a note that the guys I was with in Denver, it said keep an eye out for symptoms over the next few days. Great.
Oh, well, speaking of which, so I ended up getting my booster shot this weekend or this week. And if you'll see me, I keep playing with my collarbone. It's because I have a lymph node right there that's all swollen up.
Gotcha.
And then I have the one in my armpit is all swollen because that's the arm that I got the shot in. So those two lymph nodes are swollen.
They're still swollen?
Yeah. Wow. Well, I mean, I think I only got it on Wednesday, so it's not that long ago. It's been it's going to be a long weekend, so I think we're going to try and paint one of the rooms in our house.
Nice.
But
you want to come over and paint my house?
No, not at all. I mean, your color is ugly. But per usual, you want to paint a room? Sure. What color? Well, I don't know.
But
then why are we talking about it?
That happened. Casey actually did end up going and grabbing a handful of
paint
samples and put some splotches on the wall.
Yep.
So we might be doing that here shortly. We did get the new range in, the new stove. Super excited about that. It looks real nice.
You haven't used it yet?
No, Casey used it last night. It's got a air fryer built in. Yeah, badass. Pretty excited.
To your house.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. Casey and Patrick aren't feeling so hot, so I would invite you over tonight to watch Patriots. But he actually was a close contact. So
yeah, we're supposed to watch football last weekend, and I was about to come over, or you were about to come over here, and then my wife's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, everyone at my work has COVID."
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Okay.
But anyway,
I think we should let Smitty know before he comes over.
Yeah.
Or after I cough on him.
What else you been up to?
Not much. Mostly just work. Starting the new year. I started playing World of Tanks again just because it's fun, and I just love how the tanks look in that game.
Okay.
It's a pretty mindless game to play, but I like it.
I don't know if I've ever played that one.
It's free.
Yeah, I don't have enough time.
Yeah. So let's get into our first block. So before the season started, we did a section of or topic where we were like coaches that were on the hot seat, and pretty much everybody that we talked about was nailed. And they're pretty obvious ones. The only one we didn't see was John Gruden, I would say, and then
Flores.
David and Brian Flores and David Culley. But like nobody saw John Gruden because he was in year 4 of a 10-year contract, but he wasn't fired for football reasons. So I didn't really mention him in the script. But that vacancy is open. But the interim head coach is, he has a good chance of getting that job, especially if they win the playoff game. Even if they lose the playoff game, I think they should still give it to him because his players play hard for him.
Yep. Yeah, I think they should certainly keep him. But anyway, yeah, get into the list of coaches that were fired. It's pretty wild.
So the first coach on the list that I want to talk about is Vic Fangio for the Broncos. The Broncos have everything set up. Why'd you make that face?
Because I thought it was Fangio. F, not a V, not a foxtrot, not a Victor.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I pronounced it the same way.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the Broncos are set up to like win a Super Bowl now. They just have a problem with a quarterback, and he's a defensive-minded coach, and he's had 4 straight losing seasons. Now, with all that talent, and I understand they got hit with injuries last year with Cortland Sutton going down, and this year with Judy
and a lot of COVID both years, really.
Yeah, one they played a game with no quarterback essentially because the whole quarterback room went down. But they've had 4 straight losing seasons, and that's just unacceptable for that franchise. So I mean, it takes you 4 years and you can't get the offense right, you got to go. So that takes us to the next guy, Matt Nagy with the Bears. Well, Matt Nagy's an offensive coach and can't get the offense to work in 4 or 5 years, however long he was there, 4, 5, 6 years. How can you be an offensive guy and your offense suck every year? Like that's you. If that's your side of the ball, at least you should be good on that side of the ball. Actually, his defense is really good right now. They just need somebody to come in who can run an offense that's respectable.
Which was pretty impressive considering that Khalil Mack went down. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what week it is, but having him go down and still having a good defense, I mean, he is such a game changer that, that goes to show that the talent on that side of the ball.
I also think that Matt Nagy, the expectations were really high for him because he came off the Andy Reid tree and the way that they're just killing it in Kansas City. And it's not like Matt Nagy came in with no weapons. He had good wide receivers. He had good running backs. He just couldn't make it work. I just can't explain how he didn't get it to work. And so the next guy is Mike Zimmer, same deal, defensive coordinator. Couldn't really get the offense going as well as it should. It was good for some years, but he had, he's an authoritative figure. I think his message just got old over 8 years. He likes to play defense, run the ball, which is a good philosophy, but I think he hampered the offense because he kept going through different offensive coordinators like every year. So I don't think that was a very good use of the offense there because they're better on paper than they actually are on offense. So what I was saying about Mike Zimmer is he's a defensive guy, 8 years, sort of lost his voice. He kept turning through offense coordinators. Like Kevin Stefanski came out of there. That was their best year. They were 13-3 when he was offense coordinator. But, he doesn't get along with the offense coordinators. He just wants to play defense and run the ball all the time. So I don't think he's using his weapons as well as he could. If he threw the ball a little bit more or better, Cook could be even better than he is.
Sure. And I do think outside of Thielen and Jefferson and Diggs when he was there, the tight end use, granted, Irv Smith went down. Irv Smith got injured this year, who's their stud tight end. And they had Tyler Conklin, but Tyler Conklin had a pretty good season. Mm-hmm. So I just think it's a run first and throw when you have to almost kind of offense.
Yeah. And I think if you're running first and second down every time, eventually people are going to catch on to that. and then you're looking at 3rd and long. So I think they have a lot of 3 and outs. So I think their offense stalls a lot. And I think they're just putting too much on Cook. Cook, you got to do everything. Okay. So the next surprise was David Culley. He got fired on Thursday. Why? Well, the Texans are a bad organization is what it comes down to. So they hired him to be a placeholder while this Deshaun Watson stuff sort of figures itself out until they can get the guy that they're really after. So whoever that ends up being, some people think it's going to be Brian Flores because he has ties to Nick Caserio, the GM.
I was going to say that, yeah.
So the Texans are trying to be Patriots South. And I guess that would make, instead of it being Miami South, because that's where Brian Flores was and get fired, and Tennessee used to be,
well, still Patriots, is Mike Vrabel.
Patriot South. So the real winner of this trade, or not this trade, this David Culley signing. Well, David Culley, he's not even a coordinator. He's just a position coach from the Ravens. Since Houston signed him, the Ravens get 2 third-round compensatory picks. So 1 last year and 1 this year. And he also got paid $22 million. So, I mean, that's great. But we think that Brian Flores or Gerard Mayo or somebody from the Patriots is going to end up being the Texans' head coach. My question is, why would you want to go there?
Yeah, not a lot to look forward to, right? With still the turmoil of Deshaun Watson, which I think is really supposed to be technically resolved anytime now, weren't they? Wasn't it supposed to be mid-January?
Yeah, but there's really no timetable on it per se.
Okay,
like there's not a hard deadline.
No, but I thought there was like the litigation was supposed to happen this month.
Yeah, the grand jury was supposed to do something and make a decision, but I haven't heard any word, so it's still going.
Yeah, but and not only that, but I think at this point they're back to having all their draft picks, or at least most of them, compared to the past couple of years where
last year their first pick was 3rd round. David Mills, and that actually wasn't a bad pick.
No, it seemed to work out pretty well. But Bill O'Brien, he hamstrung that organization for this year, and I don't know if he expected to be fired and just said, fuck it, I'll make all the, make a bunch of moves. And I'm not sure what he was thinking. Getting rid of DeAndre Hopkins, Laramie Tunsil has done well, but he's not good enough to be that, first 2-round picks or a first and a second or something like that, whatever they got for Laramie Tunsil.
When you see a GM on the hot seat, and Bill O'Brien was, but he was mostly on the hot seat for being a head coach because he makes terrible decisions in the middle of a game. You saw the same thing with David Gettleman with the Giants. When you're on the hot seat and you're on the hot seat, you go out and you grab all these players, whether or not it's a good deal or not. So they grabbed Kenny Golladay, they grabbed Snacks Harrison, they grabbed a couple other guys.
Kenny Golladay? Kenny Golladay?
Yeah, he plays wide receiver for the Giants.
I thought we were still. I missed where you jumped over to the Giants. I missed that part. I thought we were still talking about Bill O'Brien.
No. You already mentioned all the Texans guys.
Gotcha.
So it's the same situation with the Giants. He went out when they're on the hot seat. They go spend.
Well, it's not their money no matter what, right?
Right, but then they get fired, and then it basically screws the franchise if it doesn't work out. Most free agent signings, I think it's 30% actually hit, which is mind blowing.
Would you say the Patriots free agent signings have hit?
We'll go over that later. I'll add that to the docket.
Because I only know of one. No, I'd say the 3 big ones are. Anyway, keep going.
So with David Culley being fired, unless they can get somebody that they were looking for, like Brian Flores unexpectedly got fired, so he became available. So maybe he's the replacement for David Culley. Then that makes sense. They got the guy that they were looking for. But what doesn't make sense is that if they don't hire Brian Flores, like what do they do? If I was a coach looking for a job right now and Texans called me, I wouldn't even take the call because they're a bad organization from the top down. They have a bunch of infighting, a bunch of weird people that work there that have power. Nick Caserio's fine, but it's those other guys that are there. And then I don't like the owner, Cal McNair. He does a bunch of bad stuff.
Let me ask though, if
I understand there's only 32 jobs, so like,
but if you're
Dave, to like interview, but
yeah, if you're David Culley, even if you're only saying it's going to be a year, you're laughing all the way to the bank with $22 million for a year.
Sure,
you're the highest paid head coach in the league.
Sure, by a lot.
So, money talks. They're going to find somebody. I don't think it's going to be that difficult. Maybe not some of the guys that are the big names. Brian Flores.
That's what I'm saying. I think the big names, that's not going to impress them because they're going to want power. They're going to want to make decisions. They're going to want an organization to be a certain way. And the Texans are not one of those pillar organizations. They're not the Steelers. They're not the Patriots. They're not the Giants. Like, you're not one of those organizations. So that's where I think the Texans have a problem organizationally, culturally, whatever you want to call it. I think they have a bigger problem. I think they're going to be the Washington the Washington
football team.
They're going to announce their team in like a month, less than a month. We think it's going to be the Admirals, is what I hear.
Really?
Yeah. But anyway, I think they're going to be one of those teams. They're going to be like the Raiders. They're going to be dysfunctional. They'll never be good until they change owners.
Are the guys in the Navy that are higher up, are they going to be pissed because they're called Admirals?
No, I'm fine with the Dave Robinson team. That's fine. He was one of my favorite players growing up. So David Culley was one. The next biggest surprise was Brian Flores got fired after back-to-back winning seasons. And I'm going to start out with the negative. So Brian Flores is a defensive guy, and the defense is playing well. But same thing with Mike Zimmer. He couldn't get the offense to work. He kept going through offense coordinators. He went through 4 offensive coordinators in 3 years so he had Chad O'Shea. He was the quarterback's coach for the Patriots. He went down when Flores went down there. They brought in Chan Gailey to run the offense for Fitzpatrick because they had worked together in Buffalo. And then last year he had 2 co-coordinators on offense, George Godsey and Eric Studsville, which was strange to have 2 like that. But I think he's copying something that like Bill Belichick does. Bill Belichick holds the defense coordinator or the head coach title, and he doesn't really have defense coordinators. So like sometimes you see Brian Flores is calling plays. Sometimes you see Gerard Mayo calling plays. Sometimes you see Steve Belichick calling plays. So like, I think that's more of like a growth thing and a training thing that Belichick's doing. And I think Brian Flores was trying to sort of copy that.
To emulate that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's a problem when you're going through an offense coordinator every year. Now, it's different when Bill Belichick does it, and it's different when Nick Saban does it, because Nick Saban's doing it because he just won a national championship, and that guy's, has to move on. Same thing with Belichick. He won a Super Bowl. Like, an offense coordinator will move on. That makes sense. But it doesn't make sense if you're not winning your division. So... And then
they only made playoffs last year, right?
They had a winning season. Did they make the playoffs?
I thought they made playoffs last year.
Yeah. So it's strange that he got fired after back-to-back winning seasons, especially considering that they were on a roll. They won 7 out of 8 to end the season. They won 7 straight after they stopped talking about Deshaun Watson after the trade deadline. Went down. Tua started playing better. The defense is playing better. So the real rumor is that Chris Greer, who's the GM, couldn't get along with Brian Flores. So I guess Brian Flores really wanted Deshaun Watson, and they didn't get Deshaun Watson. So, and then some of this goes to Stephen Ross. He's not in the building. His headquarters are in New York. So he's not there day to day. So like, he doesn't really know what's going on, I guess is the best way to put it. You're out of touch. So I was watching or listening to Pro Football Talk the other day, and another sort of conspiracy theory is that Brian Flores sort of rubbed Stephen Ross the wrong way back in 2019 when they were tanking for Tua. And Brian Flores' job isn't to tank. His job is to win football games as the head coach. And so they were tanking for Tua, and Brian Flores, eventually started winning some games. He won like 5 games. Like they won more games than they were supposed to, sort of like what the Texans did this year. And so they ended up losing out on the first pick to the Bengals. They ended up with like the 5th pick or something like that. And that year, Tua got hurt late in the season, and Joe Burrow ended up being the guy winning. I don't know if he won the Heisman or not, but he definitely won the national championship and was the best quarterback on the board. And so far through their career, it turns out Joe Burrow is a little bit better. So I think some of that went into Brian Flores getting fired as well.
I think Joe Burrow's got a better offense too, though.
That is true.
With T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and
Lloyd.
Mixon, and they bulked up on offensive line. So that's a tough comparison. And I think Zach Taylor, he's their GM. Who's their head coach?
No, Zach Taylor's the head coach.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah,
Zach Taylor.
Dude. Looks like a baby.
Yeah, I think he's done a good job putting that team together, though.
Yep. And so I think Chris Greer should take a lot of this blame. It's one thing if Flores, can't get the offense right. I get that. Like that I can see, but pretty much everything else points to Chris Greer being the problem here and the owner being a problem as far as like functionality within the organization or power or whatever you want to call it. Out of all the draft picks that they've had, so they could have gotten Herbert. Instead, they took Tua. Well, that was a miss because Herbert's a rock star.
Stud.
And Tua, we don't know yet. We'll find out. The jury's still out on him. He's still young. But the only draft pick I can think of that actually hit over the last 2 or 3 years was Jalen Waddle. They have no offensive lineman that I can name. They don't have a running back.
Traded away Laramie Tunsil.
They don't have a running back besides Myles Gaskin. He's okay. But some of that goes to you have a bad offensive line. So how are you supposed to run the ball? Having a rookie quarterback, the best thing for a young quarterback is a good run game.
And a good defense. They put Gaskin in the doghouse. Like he was supposed to be their bell cow into the season. And then they picked up Duke Johnson at the end of the year, and they picked up Philip Lindsay when he was cut. Actually, were both of those guys cut from Houston?
I think so.
And so, it was kind of surprising because Myles Gaskin, I know he got hurt and they needed somebody to fill in, but I was really surprised to see that he came out basically 3/4 of the way through the year and didn't get his starting job back.
Yep. And Jalen Waddle, that was a good pick. But any GM could have made that one. Like there was already a rapport there. He already played at Alabama with Tua, so like he already knows him.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, I can't name an offensive lineman that they have. That's how poor their offensive line is. Mike Gesicki was already on the team.
Who's a stud, by the way.
Yeah, he's got great.
Devontae Parker's already on the team.
Sure, but he's not great. He's a B receiver.
Yeah, I would agree.
But he's filling that lead role. But anyway, I think Stephen Ross needs to move his headquarters to Florida, to the Miami Dolphins Stadium, Joe Robbie Stadium. But I think he needs to take a page from Robert Kraft and stay out of football operations because he's a real estate guy. Let football guys do football things. Don't let one person tell you what's going on and then fire your head coach. Like, it just doesn't make sense because everybody wants Brian Flores right now because this team was on fire at the end of the year, swept the Patriots this year, and they're supposed to be like the gold standard in the last 20 years. Don't get me wrong. This team in the last couple of years is not the same Patriots that we've seen for the last 20 years with Tom Brady, but they're still regarded like that. It's a Super Bowl for a lot of teams when they play us.
Well, not only that, but I think if Honestly, if Belichick wins, I'd say even if the Patriots make it to AFC Championship game, Belichick probably has the Coach of the Year honors.
They also think that he's GM of the year.
He went out and spent a bunch of money, and people were questioning it whether it was the right move. But I mean, it seems to be working pretty well for him right now. I know Jonnu Smith hasn't been like a stud, and we can get to this in a little bit. But Hunter Henry, he went 7 weeks with scoring a touchdown.
Yeah, something like that.
And then Mac Jones, obviously that 15th pick. Anyway, keep going.
Well, so let's just talk about the possible new head coaches that are out there. So let's just run through this list. Dan Quinn, DC for Dallas. A lot of people are looking at him. Kellen Moore, offense coordinator for Dallas. A lot of people are looking at him.
I think Kellen Moore is going to have a head coaching job next year.
I think yes, or Jerry Jones is going to pay him
ridiculous amount of money for an OC.
Because if Mike McCarthy loses this weekend, you could see Mike McCarthy out the door and Kellen Moore being the head coach. I could. Anyway, next one, Brian Dable, offense coordinator for the Bills. I hope he gets a head coaching job because I want him out of our division. Because it's going to switch. He's been the offense coordinator with Josh Allen for 3 years now, and he's done a great job.
What if he goes to Miami?
That's fine. I got 2 on 2 fantasy teams. I mean, make his value go up. That'd be great. I said outside the division, but I really just want him off the Bills.
Off the Bills, yeah.
Yeah. And then Gerard Mayo's name is being picked up a lot from the Patriots. Josh McDaniels' name is being rumored. Eric Bieniemy from Kansas City. Joe Brady was fired from the Panthers midseason, but he was the big OC pickup last year. Maybe not last year, the year before, whenever LSU won the title 2 years ago. So he'll find a job, no problem. Might not be a head coach, but he'll find a job. Todd Bowles, defense coordinator for Tampa Bay. That's what happens when you win a Super Bowl. Byron Leftwich. That's what happens when you win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but Byron Leftwich has done a really good job, Super Bowl or no. He's done a really good job in Tampa. Granted, not how much is it? How much is it? Bruce Arians and Tom and that offense, but I think he's done a good job. He's acted correctly and said all the right things.
Sure, but in his first year, he was able to meld what Tom Brady knows into what Bruce Arians' offense is and make it work, either terminology or what. And they won the Super Bowl first year. They look like professionals. Jason Garrett, his name is still out there.
He was fired by the Giants earlier this year.
Bill O'Brien.
Jesus, you added this to the list.
He's out there. I think he had a winning record in Houston. He made the playoffs 4 out of 6 years. I think he underachieved with those teams, but
got waxed by the Patriots in the playoffs like 3 years in a row.
Yeah, but you're going against Tom Brady, the greatest coach of all time, the greatest quarterback of all time. It's hard to really blame him. But yeah, we always had his number. I'm just saying he's out there. He's going to be mentioned for these jobs because he's not going to go back to Alabama, I don't think, after losing the national championship. Jim Caldwell, his name is out there, former Lions and Colts coach. So there's a lot of moving parts. You'll see a lot of people getting interviewed right now. And it'll be interesting to see where people land. Like I said, I think the Raiders interim head coach, Rich, I forget, I can't pronounce his last name. But I think he really earned that job. And I think his players play hard for him, especially with all the turmoil that they've gone through. Anytime that you have events like that and it's how you can tuck yourself through those events, I think people undervalue.
Yeah, he did a great job kind of holding this team together. Yeah, because it could have been a nightmare.
Train wreck.
Yeah.
And now he made the playoffs.
Yeah. And I guess that leads us into the next portion we were going to talk about anyway is the Colts choked. They lose to Jacksonville week 18. Win and you're in. And you lose to Jacksonville.
They also choked the week before. They lost to the Raiders.
Yep. And then Chargers choked. They win and they're in.
They've been an up and down team like the Raiders.
Yeah.
And that's why the Chargers and Raiders ended up playing the last game of the season and it ended up going into overtime. And if they would have tied, both teams would have made the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the Steelers would have been out, but the Raiders would have had to go to Kansas City. So they ended up kicking a field goal, beating the Chargers, knocking them out, and now they have to play somebody else. They get to play Cincinnati.
They almost ended up winning though. Tying. They almost ended up tying.
Yeah.
If they missed that last second field goal, they tie, and the Steelers are out, and both the Raiders and Chargers are in.
Yeah, and we didn't think the Steelers were going to get in. A lot of stuff had to go their way for that to work.
Yep.
But that last game of the season, with the tying being a possibility, a lot of people ended up staying up watching that game Sunday night, and it was good. And Justin Herbert was a hero. I think the new head coach, Brandon Staley, made a few mistakes, but it's not the end of the world. And, it's his first year, but they better be better next year, the Chargers, especially on defense.
Yeah. That defense was brutal, right? Especially their run defense.
Defense head coach, your run defense is a problem, and you still haven't fixed it in week 18. And what happens? Josh Jacobs rips off like an 8-yard run, especially when everybody was like, all right, we're about to tie. We're going to call a timeout, which he shouldn't have done. Puts in his best run defense and then still gives up 8 yards. And that's why they lost the game. Now, if they would have stuffed him, it's a little bit out of field goal range.
I don't know. Carlson's got a leg.
Carlson probably still would have made it, but they might have just let the time run out.
Yeah.
And just tied. And that's sort of
you figure they would have been in if they tied no matter what, right? So
yeah, and everybody knew what was going on. And I think Brandon Staley sort of broke the mood, I guess, or broke the momentum, whatever you want to call it. And so they ended up losing and then getting knocked out. It's just a calamity of errors, I guess.
Yeah, it's tough to see. I would have loved to see what the Chargers could do, because they could do some damage in the playoffs. Maybe not run defense, but they could put up points, and there could be some upsets.
Name the number one young quarterback the past 2 years.
Justin Herbert.
Not in the playoffs. That's not, the NFL doesn't want to see that.
Right?
Fans don't want to see that either.
Well, the NFL wants to see points scored, right? Mm-hmm. They want to see games that are in the 30s, 40s, 50s. So anyway,
let's go ahead and let's talk about the wild card matchups. And so the first topic, I guess, is Tennessee and Green Bay are both on byes. They're the number one seeds. I'm going to point out that David Culley beat Tennessee. Doesn't get enough credit for that. And then let's get into the Saturday matchup. So we got the Raiders at Cincinnati. They play first.
4:30 today.
What's your prediction? I have a hard time trusting the Raiders, but I have a hard time trusting Cincinnati, just historically, because they're a bad franchise.
I agree. I think this is going to be Cincinnati's first playoff win in who knows how long. I think Cincinnati's going to win. I think Joe Burrow is going to do enough to win, and Joe Mixon is going to run the ball really efficiently today.
You think Jamar Chase is going to have 50 points?
Fucking Jamar Chase. I think we talked about that last time, right?
Yeah.
He put up that 50 burger. I don't think he'll have 50, but I think he'll probably have 120 yards and a touchdown at minimum.
I think the Raiders feel good story of dealing with the John Gruden thing, the Henry Ruggs thing, the interim coach doing such a great job, them making the playoffs. I think that feel good story comes to an end.
Cinderella story comes to an end.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if they knock off Cincinnati. Cincinnati's not like a world beater here. So that game's 50-50 for me, but maybe I lean towards Cincinnati because they're at home.
Both teams are 10-7. Cincinnati's favored by 6. So I think that's certainly going to happen.
And then the next matchup tonight is the Patriots at the Bills. So I'm going with the Patriots on this one, and I'm going full homer. It's going to be cold, and Josh Allen does not play well in the cold, historically. I don't have the stats in front of me. This is just what everyone else is regurgitating. But I think we're not going to need Mac Jones to be amazing. I think we're just going to use our running backs and Hunter Henry, and our defense will step up. The real thing is just don't let Josh Allen run around. And whatever you do, whoever this Isaiah McKenzie guy is, somebody cover him this game because nobody covered him last game. He had 11 catches for over 100 yards. It was ridiculous. I'd never heard of him before, and he just destroyed us.
This was a whatever week that was, 16,
yeah.
16 maybe. That was a traditional Bill Belichick letting the Bills win and not showing them anything crazy as far as matchups go, and he's going to confuse the hell out of Josh Allen. I think the Patriots win this one by, I'm going to go by 6.
I'm going to go with 14.
Wow. That's listen, look at the cojones on this guy.
I think JC Jackson has a pick 6.
Really? Okay.
And I think we're going to get a strip sack and a fumble and get some short. The Patriots are better at front running.
Mm-hmm.
And then that will take the pressure off of Mac Jones. But if we get behind, we're going to be in trouble, like real trouble, because Mac Jones hasn't played well the last 3 or 4 games.
You could argue that he doesn't play well in the cold either. Being what is he? He's from Florida, I think.
Yeah, whatever.
And he went to school in Alabama.
True. We don't know, but now he's part of the Patriots, so he better get used to the cold. Patriots practice outside. Like if it's cold, they're outside.
Yep.
If it's rainy, they're outside. Like Belichick doesn't use that as an excuse. But the last time the last couple of games, Mac Jones has looked terrible. So I think if they can take the pressure off of Mac Jones and not, make it all about him, they should be okay.
Honestly, I think that about both teams. It's going to be so cold there. I think what does it say? Kickoff is supposed to be 0 degrees, and then it's supposed with the wind chill, it's supposed to be -12. Throwing the ball is not going to be a great option today. I know Josh Allen has a cannon. And can probably cut through that wind, but it's not going to fly as far as normal. And
it's not going to be as windy as the first time they played.
It won't, but it's still going to be gusty enough that your ball can, that ball can be manipulated pretty easily and off course. Again, with the cold, the ball's not going to soar as much either. So keep that in mind. A ball that you might think you throw 40 yards might go 35 now.
Both teams have good defenses. I think this will favor the Patriots because they can run the ball better. They got a 2-headed monster with Stevenson and Harris back there.
And shit, I'd add 3-headed monster. Bolden's look great when called upon.
Oh yeah, Bolden's amazing this year. He's filling in for James White still, and he's played real well.
Yep.
I just think that so Mac Jones, and I think some of that goes to the Patriots towards the end of the year. You're playing division rivals. They play vanilla because they don't want to give anything away, especially because we knew we were going to play one of those teams in the playoffs. And, everybody's a copycat league. So I think the Patriots, not that we lost those games on purpose, but
I don't think there was a lot of effort to win.
Yeah.
Especially after beating Jacksonville week 17, you knew you already had a playoff spot.
Yep.
So again, I do wish they would have won the week 18 matchup, but
yeah, I would have rather played Cincinnati.
Yeah. Yep.
Did you watch that Miami game?
I watched most of it.
I knew we were going to lose the moment Mac Jones stared to the right and then threw the ball to the right, and the only person that moved was the corner.
Yeah, I was like, Xavier Rhodes, whatever's
Xavier Howard.
Xavier Howard. Yeah. Sorry, I was mixing Damian Rhodes and Xavier.
He's their best defensive player. He's going to leave after the season because
that guy's a stud.
Because Brian Flores isn't there, and he's like, "What?" He's like, "What the hell? You just fired my head coach." Yeah. So he's going to leave in free agency. Anyway, let's get into the next matchup. Sunday, you got Philly at Tampa Bay. I think this could be an upset if weather plays a factor. Philly is the best run team in the league, and Tampa Bay is one of the best run stoppers in the league. I think Tampa Bay, they've gone through a lot of turmoil with the Antonio Brown thing. Chris Godwin's out. They got some injuries. So
Mike Evans isn't at 100%.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting who can fill in. They still got weapons. They got Scotty Miller. They're young guys. Tyler Johnson. Who was that other guy who stepped in for Antonio Brown? Had a great
Scotty Miller.
game. No,
Oh, I know who you're
Scotty
talking
Miller
about.
is there. McRae, something like that.
Hang on.
Cyril something.
Cyril something, yeah.
Yeah, that kid had a great game.
Grayson.
So I think that
Cyril Grayson.
Yeah, he had a great game. So I think Tampa Bay could pull it off. I don't see why not.
Are you picking Tampa Bay?
I'll go with Tampa Bay.
Okay. I'll keep track of these.
But it wouldn't surprise me if like the weather changes the game plan and Philly ends up winning. Like that wouldn't be a total shock. So who you gonna take in that game?
I'm gonna take Philadelphia, and here's why. I don't think that, like you said, I think there's an opportunity. There's chinks in the armor, I'll say, for Tampa Bay with Godwin out.
Can you name 2 players on Philadelphia?
Yeah. Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts,
Okay.
Devontae Smith.
3. Nice.
And then Dallas Goedert. Anyway, I am going to go Philadelphia because I think they're going to run the ball. And
You're going into like the 3rd best rush defense in the league.
Sure, but has Tampa Bay played anybody with a quarterback as dynamic as Jalen Hurts?
Maybe not, but I bet their linebacker will be all over him. White,
Devin White.
He's real good.
Oh, Devin Bush.
No, Devin Bush plays for the Steelers.
I always get them mixed up.
Yeah, they were drafted together, I think, or around
they were
the same
drafted
time.
in the same,
they both
the same
play
draft.
linebacker.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I think Philadelphia's actually going to take this. The Bucks barely beat the Jets with the exact same team they have. Granted, they get Leonard Fournette, so it's not the exact same team. They get Leonard Fournette back.
Sure, but how hard were they playing? That's why I don't take a lot out of these like end of the season games, because like, what are you playing for? You're playing for seeding, maybe. Tampa Bay is just trying to get healthy, probably. Anyway, let's get into the next matchup. I have San Francisco at Dallas. I'm going San Francisco. I think Shanahan's going to outcoach McCarthy, and I don't think that's saying a whole lot, but I think Shanahan, Deebo Samuel, the zone run scheme, they're going to pass it just enough. I think if Jimmy G, if they can keep the ball out of the Cowboys' hands, if they can limit the number of possessions Dallas has, and San Francisco's defense is sneaky good, so that's why I'm going with San Francisco. I don't think they're intimidated by Dallas. Dallas has laid a couple eggs earlier this year, like with the Broncos.
Throughout the year, really.
Yeah. So
they're another team that was up and down a bit.
I think they're a paper tiger, Dallas. So who do you got?
I'm going to go.
I also want to see the upset, so I'm just not a Dallas fan.
I'm with you. I want to see the Niners win, and I'm going to take the Niners. I think the Niners have enough. Like you said, McCarthy is, Shanahan is such a better coach than McCarthy is in his short tenure. And the Niners with Deebo Samuel, honestly, the guy is so dynamic. He can run the ball. He can catch the ball. Clearly, he can pass the ball because he threw a touchdown last week. Yeah. So I think he's going to have another good game and just really they've talked about how much better Dallas is on defense as opposed to last year, but last year they were historically bad. So
yeah, and I think they can take advantage of their cornerback who has a lot of interceptions.
Tavon Diggs.
Yeah, they can take advantage of him. Just do a double move, throw it over his head.
Yep. Yeah, he jumps too many routes and is going to get burned. So, I think the Cowboys, their running backs or Ezekiel Elliott hasn't been good enough this year, in my opinion. Same with Dak Prescott, hasn't been good, and that makes CeeDee Lamb and Cooper. I don't remember seeing his last catch. I don't know if he's had one in the last 3 weeks. I know he has. I was being facetious, but he probably only has maybe in the last 4 weeks. I'd be surprised if he had more than 6 catches combined.
Yeah, and San Francisco has been like the Raiders, the Colts, the Cowboys, like all those teams are just like up and down. Like when you think they should win, they lose. When you think they should lose, they win. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas wins this game, but I'm also not a Dallas fan, so I'm rooting against them. So,
yep.
Going into the next matchup, I have Pittsburgh at Kansas City. Everyone thinks that Kansas City is going to win. I think Kansas City's favored by like 12 points or something like that.
12 and a half.
Pittsburgh's offense is terrible. And they play zone defense. They're going to get smoked by Mahomes. Smoked. Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are just going to run and then stop and catch a ball. Like it's just going to be that rinse and repeat. I don't think they can get pressure on the quarterback with their D line with just 4 people. I like Cam Hayward. He's a monster.
And TJ Watt.
I think they're going to have to blitz. Right. But Kansas City rebuilt that offensive line last year or this year. So you have Joe Tooney and all those new guys they got. So
it's looked better. I would still say it's not. I don't think it's worth the money they spent. I'll say that.
Sure, but I think they can handle Pittsburgh.
I do too. But Pittsburgh's front 4 can be disruptors with TJ Watt and I'll say they're Devin Bush, the linebacker for Pittsburgh, and Minkah Fitzpatrick. They got a good defense. I think, like you said, though, the biggest thing is their scheme needs to change a bit. They've literally had a zone defense since Bill Cowher was there.
Yeah, they don't adapt like the Patriots. The Patriots will adapt to who they're playing every week. Well, and so they'll play man, they'll play zone, they'll mix it up, they'll play 3-4, they'll play 4-3. They'll do whatever they got to do.
That's why so many players are good in the Patriots system and not in other systems, because that's the reason the Patriots like literally picked up this guy for this role. It's not like, I run a 4-3 and you have to figure out how to be in this system.
Yep. Which is what the Buffalo Bills did after Doug Marrone. They came in and like reversed the defense from a 4-3 to 3-4. And so they took like their best players and they made them like outside linebackers, or they made them interior linemen. And then they were like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So like your stack numbers go down. It's terrible. So let's see.
Last game of the weekend.
Yeah, last game of the weekend. You got Arizona at the Rams. I'm going with the Rams just because, well, 1, they're home. But 2, I think they are more healthy. I don't know if DeAndre Hopkins is going to play in this game. He's not, right? He's out for the year, right?
They said earliest he'd be able to come back as NFC Championship game.
Okay, so just that fact alone, I don't think Arizona has enough offense to go against the Rams defense.
I agree with that.
I think they're just going to contain Kyler Murray. He's a running threat, but he's not this year. He got hurt in that stupid loss where he threw the ball to Green and Green wasn't looking for it against Green Bay, I think. Anyway, he got tackled on that play, hurt like his leg, missed a bunch of games. So I still don't
missed 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, so it's like a high ankle sprain. So I don't think he's as mobile as he used to be. And I don't think their offense can keep up with the Rams. But you never know. If Matthew Stafford throws 3 interceptions, then we're talking about Arizona winning this game. So
right.
I think the Rams will play more conservative and try to limit Matthew Stafford's turnovers, maybe run it with Henderson, get OBJ on some.
Tony Michelle's been really good
crossers
in their running game as well.
Yeah. So the Rams have been winning in spite of Stafford instead of Stafford like elevating them. I think if McVay can limit what Stafford can do damage wise, I think they should beat the Cardinals handedly, I think.
Sure. I agree with that.
What do you think?
No, I think so the big knock against Matthew Stafford, who I've always been a fan of Matthew Stafford. I think he's a good quarterback. Kind of one of the last gunslingers, though.
Correct.
He's last of the Mohicans in that sort of sense. But anyway, I really like him. And the big knock against him is, well, he hasn't won a big game. Well, sure, he hasn't won a big game, but he's never really played a big game in Detroit. They didn't have very many big games. So yeah, he's never won a big game, but he's never really been in one either. So tough to say. But with him and Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson and with OBJ there, who's looked really good in that run game, I honestly think that they should beat Arizona pretty handily. It's only a 4-point line for the Rams, but I would take the over or the Rams -4. Sorry, Rams -4 in this one. I think they're going to be win by 10.
Yeah, I think they're going to win handily. Like I said, the only way I can see this going the other way is if Matthew Stafford throws 3 picks, and I think they're going to try to work that out. So we're going to go into this next section. We're going to talk about the Patriot free agents since the end of the year. We'll talk about how they did. And so I'm going through a couple of them, and we're going to give a couple grades, A to F, and see how that's worked out. So what I'm going to start off with is Hunter Henry. So I think Hunter Henry has been an A or an A plus signing, maybe an A. He doesn't necessarily show up every game, but he does have a lot of touchdowns. He does have a lot of receptions, but a lot of that. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt with the Patriots because of their game plans. Like, you're not a go-to person every game. You might not be the main piece in the game plan. So, but he's at like 55 catches, a bunch of touchdowns. But he's also played more games than he's ever played in a season. He's never played every game. So, he's got 50 receptions, 9 touchdowns, and 600 yards. I think he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. So I think it's a good signing. What do you think?
I agree. I think he's been just what we were expecting out of him. And yeah, I mean, his stat line, like you said, his stat line isn't like what it was probably with the Chargers, but we weren't expecting that. We were expecting a guy that's going to be a good red zone threat, which he certainly has been. He had that, I think, like I said earlier, I think that streak of 7 straight games with a touchdown reception. Sorry. So yeah, I think as advertised with Hunter Henry, and I'm glad they signed him. People again, I think they're a little hesitant on the dollar amount for the signing, the what it was to get him over here, but we've talked about it in the past. New England might have to overpay a little bit to get people here because there's some negative publicity, I'll say, that go out that say Belichick, like, people didn't like playing here and things like that. Gronkowski came out and said that recently. I don't know if you saw that. He said he didn't like playing there or playing here. And
Gronk did?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not fun. It's a job.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's not fun. It's fun winning though. Yeah.
Belichick has fun after you win a Super Bowl. You don't win a Super Bowl, no fun.
Right.
No laughter until you win a Super Bowl.
No soup for you. So, but Hunter Henry came out after that and said, I've really enjoyed my time here. So it's
different when you go from a crappy organization to a good organization. You can see the difference.
Yep. So, but the old adage is winning solves all, right? Winning makes everything, all the problems go away. Mm-hmm. So I think Hunter Henry is pumped to be on a team that's has a chance to win every year, probably.
So do you agree with that grade, an A?
I think so. Maybe a B plus. I mean,
for starting tight end.
Yeah. Maybe a B plus. And I only say that because the first half of the year, granted he was injured for, I think, the first 3 or 4 games, but the first half of the year, you didn't hear much from him.
Mm-hmm. But he started every game, didn't he?
Jonnu started every game. Hunter Henry missed the first, again, at least probably 2 or 3 games.
I'm trying to look. No, he played 17 games. Yeah, Hunter Henry played 17 games. He may have been hampered, but like he may not have been a full participant or whatever, but he played every game. Jonnu Smith's been hurt the whole year. So I think Jonnu Smith is an F. I basically haven't seen him, especially because of the expectations of how much he makes and what we saw in Tennessee. We thought the Patriots would utilize him even more than Tennessee did, and he's never been on the field. So I have to say Jonnu Smith's an F right now. Now that could change next year if he has a great year running double tight end sets.
So Jonnu Smith,
he has 28 catches.
28 receptions, 45 targets, 294 yards, and 1 touchdown.
Nothing to write home about.
No, but
I would say that signing is an F. Like that doesn't make a blip.
For that stat line, not that I've noticed, but I don't know how much blocking he's done also.
Yeah, I just don't think he's been out there. I don't think he's played enough snaps for what we're paying him to do. But I guess the first year with a lot of these guys is to just get used to the system. So it's a learning curve. But I'm gonna give it an F for a signing, free agent signing.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue too much, but F might be a little harsh. It might be closer to a D, but
you got to be on the field.
Sure.
Belichick hates people that are injured. Anyway, the next one is an obvious A+, Matthew Judon, rockstar. Can't say enough about Matthew Judon and how he's helped the defense. He's a difference maker in every play. You can see that the quarterback is like trying to avoid wherever he's coming from, and you can see him because he's got the red sleeves on. Do you want to say anything about Matthew Judon?
No, completely agree. I've been pumping his tires all year, even before regular season started. I was so excited to see him come over because he was a monster in Baltimore, and now he's a monster for the Patriots. And I think he's only going to get better next year.
Yeah, and I think if Belichick gets players that are on that level, he specifically does things on defense, like almost like calls a play for them to give them opportunities to like cause a problem.
Yep.
The next one is Christian Barmore. That was an A+ draft signing with what was that, our second round pick?
Yep.
And so he by far has been the best interior line defensive lineman this year out of any rookie in the league.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's been phenomenal. Really like watching Christian Barmore.
You know what's good about Belichick is he understands defense. So let's look at this. You got on offense, you have an A and an F, and then on defense, you got 2 A+. So far, and 2 Bs coming up. Yeah, and then we'll talk about Nelson Aguilar. I don't know who the Patriots were bidding against, but it sounds like they bid against themselves and overpaid for Aguilar, who's never been very good. Like he's never had like an outstanding year anywhere. And I think they did the same thing with Bourne. I think they overpaid for both of them, but I don't think Aguilar's contributions have been enough. Do you have his stats in front of you?
I do. 37 receptions, 473 yards, and 3 touchdowns this year.
Again, that's like Jonnu Smith. Like are you even playing?
Yeah, I mean,
what's 37 divided by 18?
Well,
17.
Yeah, I was going to say probably make it 16 games. And right,
I say 2 catches a game. That's gross.
I say 16 games, and you could probably say it about every Patriots pass catcher because that first game in Buffalo, 3 passes were thrown. So essentially
Sure.
But no, I agree. He probably isn't worth right now the free agent signing, but the games that he has played, he's made some big catches. They've been the catch against the catch that he made. Wasn't that him at the end of the Dallas game where he took it for like 74 yards or something?
No, that's Kendrick Bourne.
Oh shit. I get the 2 mixed up, but anyway,
Kendrick Bourne's the tall one. Used to play in San Francisco. So we're going to talk about Kendrick Bourne.
I know the difference between the 2 guys. I just don't remember who did what.
One can catch and one can't.
Anyway.
So Nelson Aguilar got brought in to be like the number one wide receiver, and it's clearly like Jacoby Myers who's the number one.
Who's a stud? Jacoby Myers is so good.
Yeah, I like him. So what are you giving Aguilar? A D?
Yeah, I'm okay with that grade. Only because of the price tag.
Yeah,
he's
price to production are not online, and
he's
the same thing with the eye test.
Yeah, he's essentially a number 3 wide receiver though. So the numbers that he had, probably he's not getting paid like a number 3, but his stats and what he plays is a number 3 with Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers.
Yeah. So Kendrick Bourne is the next one. I think he's played a little bit better. He's a little bit bigger, so I think he blocks better too. He has 55 receptions for 800 yards and 5 touchdowns. His yards per catch is 14.5, 21st in the league. Kendrick Bourne is like a field stretcher, which is sort of what Aguilar should do, but doesn't. I don't know. Aguilar has a drop problem. But anyway, Kendrick Bourne has come in and filled a role as the number 2 guy, and I think he's done it well. Do I know if it's fitting the price tag? I think it's about equal. So I think a B plus is a good grade.
Yeah, I think B is a good grade for him.
Yeah, I don't think he's... When he does touch the ball, I think you notice. I think they're bigger plays. So we'll go on to the next one. The next one is Mills. He is a cornerback. He was not brought in to be a cornerback. Jalen Mills.
Jalen Mills, yeah.
He was supposed to be like the 3rd or 4th cornerback, but since he played well enough, they got rid of Stephon Gilmore. So he ended up being the number 2 corner. Which is bananas. Because that's not really why they signed him. And then they're like, oh, well, he's playing good enough. We'll just keep him out there. I think he's played well enough considering everything going on right now.
Yeah. I think he's played okay. JC Jackson,
for his first year,
great.
For his first year in the system, I think he's played fine.
Yeah, I mean, his biggest detriment is he's undersized, right?
6 foot, 191 pounds.
I thought he was shorter than 6 foot. I thought he was like 5'8".
I think he was supposed to be like the nickel corner or something like that. I don't think he was supposed to be the number 2 standing out there. But I don't think he's a liability out there like other corners are. Like every time there's a touchdown over someone's head, you're not like, oh man, that was Mills again. I don't have that when I see him play. So I gave him a B, only because I think he's played well enough. And JC Jackson's on the other side doing what JC Jackson does.
And Jonathan Jones has looked really good this year.
Yep. Adrian Phillips has looked good at safety.
Yeah, Adrian Phillips has looked really good this year.
I think you're thinking of Miles Bryant. He's a little shorter. He's 5'9", 185. He number 41. He hits people pretty hard, but I think he's a liability because he's not as fast. And I think they're using him as the nickel corner.
Like so Chung's former spot.
Yeah, but Chung's a better pass coverage guy.
Sure.
But I think Miles Bryant is the guy, when you see big plays, I think it's happening against Miles Bryant, not Jalen Mills. But
Duggar's back for this game?
Jalen Mills is out. So in case you didn't know, or at least that's what ESPN says. Jalen Mills is out.
Oh, shit.
So the next...
Not travel with the Patriots. Oh, he's on the reserve COVID list.
Yeah. So the next one is Godchow. I don't know where we got this guy from, but I think he's done a good job clogging the middle, even though our biggest problem on defense is sort of run stopping. But I don't think that's really true. We've said that for years about the Patriots, but I think it's the way that they play defense, that they want you to keep it on the ground, getting 3 or 4 yards. Because one, it eats clock, it shortens the game, shortens the number of possessions. I think the Patriots like having people think that they can do that. I think their biggest problem on defense is their linebacking core isn't great run stopper. Deontay Hightower is not what he used to be.
No, certainly not. Drafted by Miami, played in Miami the last 4 years, came here for this year.
Oh, little interdivision stealing. Okay. Yeah. But I think he's played well. He shows up on tape right next to Barmore.
Statistically, it's probably his best year. 65 total tackles, 32 solo, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and 6 stuffs. I don't know what a stuff is considered, but it's what ESPN.
Not a tackle for loss.
Yeah, I guess.
I think our biggest problem is linebacker when it comes to the run game. I don't think it's the nose tackles or D tackles. But that's just my opinion of what I'm watching. I just don't think people are stuffing the holes like they normally would be. Deontay Hightower,
probably a good joke there.
Yeah, I don't think Deontay Hightower is laying down the boom like he used to.
No, I mean, Bentley does a little bit, but Bentley's he's a little undersized in height. He's 6'2", 255.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a big boy, and he can lay down a wallop. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think they're probably going to have to either get a replacement for Hightower in free agency or the draft, because that was Gerard Mayo had that role, that 100%. And then Hightower's had that role the past
10
years. Yeah,
he's 31. He got picked when he was 2012, so not bad. I said 10 years, but 2012, so 9 years. But I'll give Godchild a B. I think he's done good.
I think so too.
I'm going to change my grade on this last one. Is Trent Brown. I put an A, but I forgot he was injured 6 games. So I'm going to knock it down to a B.
Was it only 6? I thought it was even more than that, to be honest with you.
He had a calf problem, but when he's out there, he's a difference maker to our offense. So he sort of gets credit. And I'm giving him historical credit from when he won the Super Bowl playing left tackle. Isaiah Wynn's going to be out for this game coming up, so I don't know who's playing left tackle.
Probably Trent Brown.
That would be amazing. Run left. That's what I would do. I'd swing Shaq Mason out.
6'8", 380. That is a very large human being.
Justin Hernon, I hope he's not playing left tackle. 6'5", 305. He's all right, but I don't think he's a good left tackle. So anyway, those are our free agent grades. Hopefully we didn't miss anybody. We might have, but those are the big names. And I feel pretty comfortable with them. Like you said, with the Patriots going into this draft, I think we need help at linebacker is where I think we need help. And, maybe we'll draft another secondary guy, but the defense has been pretty strong.
Only missed 3 games. Trent Brown. Is that right?
That doesn't sound right. I thought he was out the first 6 games.
According to NFL.com, he played game 1. Granted, it was 1 snap, right? You got hurt on the first snap, missed the next 3 games, and then they tricked me. They tricked me. So he didn't come back till week 10.
Right. Yeah. I thought he missed a bunch of time.
Yeah.
So let's get into the next topic. The college football championship was played on Monday. Georgia won. I don't know if you watched that game or not.
No.
Probably not. So Georgia won. They beat Bama. The real difference in that game was the defense. Georgia has the best defense in the league, college right now. They have probably the most NFL ready players.
They have that nose tackle that's a monster. I saw a little ESPN.
They have a couple. He's huge.
I can't remember his name, but he's a monster.
So the real difference in that game, because I watched it, was Georgia off defensive line pushing the Alabama offensive line around. So Bama's quarterback was hurried a lot, pressured a lot, and he dealt with it as best he could. But it's really annoying if it's every goddamn play. But also Alabama Alabama was playing under strength. Their best wide receiver, Mechie, he wasn't in the game. And then Jalen Williams, is his name Jalen Williams? It's something Williams. He tore his ACL like halfway through the game.
The wide receiver for him?
Yeah. I forget his first name. I thought it was Jalen.
Jameson.
He tore an ACL middle of the game. That was hard to see. You saw took a step, went down after he caught the ball.
Didn't he declare for the draft too?
Yeah, he did. I don't know if Mitchie did or not, but those are the two best wide receivers. So when you lose your two best weapons, you're going to your third and fourth and fifth wide receivers. And with the rush that Georgia was putting on them, I didn't see it was an ugly offensive game. Of course, Bill O'Brien was calling it, so that probably didn't help. Alabama's best player was the running back, but they just didn't use him enough. But also, you're running him into Georgia's defense.
I mean, I'm assuming Robinson. I don't follow college football nearly as much as you do, Robinson. But he had 22 carries.
Yeah, no, I just don't think they used him enough. Or a lot of the plays where he's running, they're just bad play calls.
Sure.
I guess is the best way to put it.
I mean, he had 26 touches. That should be enough to be a difference maker in the game.
Sure, but if your wide receivers aren't catching any balls, their linebackers are sneaking up, they're putting 8 in the box. They're stacking the box.
Sure.
So I think a lot of his yards were on passes; they weren't on runs. So anyway, Georgia just manhandled Alabama. So that was that. I wanted Bama to win, but I'm not surprised that Georgia won.
Yeah, you're a Bama homer. You're a Roll Tide guy. Bryce Young.
Nick Saban, Belichick tree.
Bryce Young, 35 for 57.
Oh, I knew that was a bad omen when the Heisman Trophy winner's on your team. You don't win the championship.
369, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. And then Sam Bennett, I think his name is Sam. Stetson Bennett? I don't know. Whatever Bennett's the quarterback
it's Stetson Bennett.
17 for 26, 224, and 2 touchdowns, no picks. So it was just probably a little bit of the game script, but
it's a defensive game.
Yeah.
I saw no good offense when I was watching
it. It looks, again, I didn't watch the game, and looking at the box score and the play-by-play and things like that, it looked like it was a pretty solid game all the way up until the fourth quarter. And that's when Georgia scored 20 points in the fourth quarter to win.
Yeah, I think there may have been an interception in there. Like I said, Young just didn't have anybody to throw to. So It is what it is. But yeah, till next year. I mean, Alabama and Georgia are going to put out probably the most college draftees.
Drafts.
So I wouldn't be surprised. Tons of defensive guys are going to go in this draft. This draft coming up is not an offensive, quarterback driven draft. It's going to be more defensive. There should be plenty of wide receivers though. But I don't think it's a good running back class either. So I bet you're going to see a ton of defensive players go off the board. And O linemen, sure.
Which a lot of NFL teams need O line, so
yeah,
not a bad thing to get this year and stock up on.
No, and I think it happens in cycles. That's why I think the Texans are not going to get a quarterback. They're going to just stick with Davis Mills, and then just wait it out.
Yeah, I'd argue Davis Mills has done enough to at least deserve a better look.
Yeah.
When there's less turmoil.
For sure. Maybe get an offensive minded coach. I don't know who they're going to get, but you never know. Somebody who can develop them.
Yep.
So let's get to the Bruins. Take it away, Smitty.
Yeah. So first things first, Tuukka Rask, he gets signed by the Bruins, wins his first game in Philly on Thursday, made 25 saves. David Pastrnak had a hat trick in the same game. He actually scored more goals than Philadelphia's team did. So they won 3-2 against Philly. And he's been heating up quite a bit. not including today. He hasn't scored yet today. I'm watching why I keep looking over. I'm watching the Bruins on the on my other screen here, but he's not counting today. He's had 5 goals in 2 games, and really they've been rolling. I mean, the Bruins have been rolling all together, but they have 7 regulation wins in the last 8 games since coming back from the holiday. The extended holiday layoff. So it looked really good. The game's 2-2 going into the third here in just a few minutes. One thing, Tuukka Rask getting signed means Jeremy Swayman goes down to the minors, which sucks, but I understand it because he doesn't have to clear waivers to get
Who's the other goalie?
Linus Ullmark.
Oh, so Swayman, how did Swayman end up being the odd man out?
Because he's on his rookie contract and he doesn't have to clear waivers to go down to the minor leagues.
But why don't they just carry 3 goalies? Well, you're not going to play 3 goalies.
Correct.
Because one's just going to be an emergency goalie.
And they have a taxi squad and all this stuff, in case of COVID protocols. That's a new thing that's pretty recent that they decided to bring back. But for a young goalie, you want him playing all the time. So he's going to play, 40 games in the minor leagues rather than sitting on the bench and maybe playing once a week with the big club,
Yeah, I totally get it. It just sucks, though, going from the NHL playing every other night to every other game, not every other night.
Yeah.
And then going down to the minors.
Yeah. And again, he just odd man out, and we'll see. It looked like, I mean, he is, I would be surprised if there was any detriment. He's such a positive dude from everything, all the interviews I've seen, and any time, he's shown on TV, he's just smiling. His first game, he's like, shit, I'm happy to be here. I don't care that I got the start or I'm named the starter or whatever. He's like, I'm playing in the NHL. I'm happy. So he'll be the starter going forward after this year. I'm expecting, we'll see how long Tuukka Rask wants to play. He only wants to play for the Bruins. I think they're going to see how he goes, see how he rolls with Tuukka Rask. But getting back to Pasta, they moved him down to the second line to play with Taylor Hall and Eric Holla. And they've looked real nice since the start of that break, or since they came back from break and been united. They've looked great. So been really nice to see. Yep.
Who's Eric Holla? I'm going to sound out of touch, but I literally don't know who he is.
Eric Holla was signed in free agency this off year. He came over from Vegas. Pretty nice player. Okay. He's been in the league for quite a while, and by quite a while, maybe 7-8 years, something like that. I don't know.
But exactly, he's not a big name.
No, but
so is he a role player? Better than role player?
Yeah, I'd say he's a middle 6 player. Okay. So the way you describe, there's 4 lines, right? He's a middle 6, so second or third liner on any NHL team. I think he certainly deserves to be there. They bumped Charlie Coyle down to the third line center. Wasn't enough chemistry with him and Hall. And so
we had talked about that earlier this year. I remember that part. I just don't recognize Holla's name.
Yep, he's new to the Bruins this year. So again, he's a nice player. He's hard-nosed. He's a blue-collar type player. So I like watching him. And I want to talk about also Brad Marchand getting snubbed by the NHL All-Stars. So I saw the list come out, and I was like, how is Marchand not on this list? So the NHL, each team has to be represented. I think baseball does the same thing. Each team has to have one representative. Mm-hmm. Not like football. Football, you don't have to. I don't think.
Baseball, you do.
Yeah. So some big names that got snubbed. So what they do is the NHL operations is who selects the team, except for the last player. The last player gets selected by fan vote. One last player in each division. The way that I don't like the way the NHL does has their setup. So it's the 4 divisions play against each other, and they play a round robin, and it's 3-on-3, after the lineup gets selected, the team selects one more person to be up for nomination as the fan vote to get in. So Bruins representative is Bergeron, which I love Bergeron. Don't get me wrong. I don't know that he's done enough to be an all-star this year. He's been really good, and he does a lot of things that aren't on the stat sheet. But Brad Marchand would have been. It's really surprising, let me say, that Brad Marchand didn't get picked. A couple other people that got left off as well from other teams. And this is including they're not on the fan vote. So they're not active. They're not able to make the all-star game no matter what. Charlie McAvoy is the one that that is available for fan vote. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's had a great year. I really like Charlie McAvoy too. But Sidney Crosby, not going to be in the all-star game this year. Quinn Hughes, Artemi Panarin, 4 huge names in the game that aren't going to the all-star game, which is very surprising. And then moving to more of the NHL, the U.S. Olympic team hockey was announced, and it's made up of mostly college kids. I think 15 of the 22 were college kids. And, I wrote in our script, it worked out in 1980. I don't know if you remember that game. I didn't watch it, obviously, but they made a couple movies about it. Anyway, one of the crazy things, though, is only 2 of those guys are first-round picks. The rest of them are outside the first round, where I tried to look up Canada's. I couldn't find Canada's roster yet, but they're going to have at least probably 4 or 5 first-round picks on their lineup. They are college kids, still, but they're first rounders. Rounding out the rest of the NHL, the U.S. All-Star team.
It's their national sport, though. Like in America, we play so many other sports. Like our best athletes are not hockey players. Generally, sure, but third period just started. We got to wrap this thing up soon. But anyway, yeah, I'm excited for NHL hockey. I don't know how much, Olympic hockey. I don't know how much I'm going to watch because of the time zone difference. It being in Beijing, I'm going to try to watch some of the games and probably the medal games at least. But it's going to be difficult, right? It's not easy with what are they, 12, 13, 14 hours difference, whatever it is. It's not easy to stay up and watch those games, the ones that are at 2 a.m. Sure.
So that's pretty much all I have on hockey right now. Again, I'm excited. I'm excited that the Bruins are rolling right now, and they're tied again 2-2 in the beginning of the third here, and hope they can pull one out here in Nashville.
Brian Flores is interviewing with the Houston Texans and the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, he's gonna be the first one off the board.
Yeah, if you're not upgrading your quarterback, your head coach, the moment that you fire him, what are you doing? So getting rid of David Culley and getting Brian Flores, yes, I would consider that an upgrade. Matt Nagy to Brian Flores, maybe less so, but it just pains me for Miami. Like, who's Miami going to get?
Not sure.
They keep rumoring Jim Harbaugh from Michigan, but
yep.
We'll see.
Yep. I'd be surprised. They've rumored it, and then Miami has come out and said, yeah, we're not going for Jim Harbaugh.
But if Jim Harbaugh separates from the school and then they sign him, it's just like a perception thing. Like it's semantics, I guess.
Yep. So we
didn't
see.
Steal him. He was unemployed.
I expect him to be the first one off the board. The Bears haven't signed their GM yet, or picked a GM yet, have they?
No. I'm curious as to the GMs that are going to come out, because the Giants need one, the Bears need one. I don't think Jacksonville needs one. Jacksonville has Trent Baalke down there, but I don't think anybody wants to work with him. So that's going to be an interesting job, whoever takes that. I think Bill O'Brien takes that job because Bill O'Brien's had fights with GMs before and won. Like he's used to that power struggle. What do you think he did in Houston? Like he won over the owner and got rid of the GMs and got all the power and then ran that franchise
Got
straight
him
into the ground.
gassed.
But like Miami has Chris Greer already there. I don't like those situations where the GM is there on a different contract than the head coach. I think they need to work together. So that's why I like Shanahan and Lynch. I think it comes in as a pair and you leave as a pair.
They're a lot closer in age too.
Sure.
I think that certainly helps that they are able to understand each other a little better as opposed to, some of the other guys that may not. The older GM with the first or second time head coach.
Yep. Gettleman with Joe Judge.
Yep.
I think the guy in Denver's done a great job building a team. He just needed a coach. But so Matt Nagy got fired. So did Ryan Pace, the GM. He was the one that traded up for Mitch Trubisky, which was a waste because nobody else was going to pick him. Like you could have picked him like in the second round. Nobody would have. Instead, they wasted a bunch of first round picks.
The Trubisky.
So it'll be interesting who fills these roles. I hope Louis Riddick gets a job.
You think he's going to?
No, I just hope he does. Thomas Dimitroff is another guy who's out there. He left the Patriots, went down to Atlanta, built a Super Bowl team, drafted Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's still playing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he finds a job somewhere. But so some teams like to find the GM and then the head coach. So there's a lot of talks going on. This is going to be a big couple weeks, especially with the playoff games going on and everything. So somebody just get laid out?
No, Bruins almost scored. They're on a power play.
Oh, nice. All right. So I need to watch the Eternals and I need to watch 10 Rings to catch up.
I started
on
watching
Marvel
Eternals. I did watch the.
Did you fall asleep?
No, it was on the flight.
Oh, okay.
I did end up finishing Black Widow. Like that.
Do you like it?
Yep. What was the other movie I watched? Shit, I should have wrote these down.
Red Notice.
I've seen Red Notice, but that was previous. But I watched a couple movies on the plane, and then I also downloaded Book of Boba Fett last night and watched that one on the plane yesterday. Or I downloaded it yesterday and watched it yesterday evening on the flight.
Episode 3.
Yep.
I think I like Book of Boba Fett and I love the guys that are doing it. I just feel like it's slow.
It is very slow right now. I fully agree.
Okay.
But they got to tell a bunch of backstory of how he got out of the Sarlacc pit and, how he got to the point he is to meeting the Mandalorian, getting all the gear back and all that stuff.
For sure.
So it's a little difficult, I think. Shit, what was the other movie I just watched? I wish there was like a log. You could have a log, kind of like the beer, the Untapped app.
What's it about?
I don't even remember.
Okay.
I started The Last Duel.
The Last Duel? Oh, that Matt Damon.
Yep, Matt Damon and Driver. Adam Driver?
Yep. Guy who plays Kylo Ren.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Affleck's in it.
He is?
Yeah. He looks weird. He's got blonde hair, right?
Oh, yeah. At first I didn't know it was Ben Affleck.
So I was up late last night and I forget what I was watching. I think I watched, a couple 90s classics. I watched Tombstone was on, so I caught half of that. And then it rolled into Predator. Like the original one with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
The original
when Arnold Schwarzenegger
so
looks like he's 35.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a pretty good one. Because it's him, Jesse Ventura, and it looks like the guy who he's in The Mandalorian. And he was in Rocky.
Nice.
African-American guy.
Apollo Creed?
Yeah, Apollo Creed, whatever his real name is.
Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers, that's it. Yeah, so he's in it, and they all play like Green Berets or whatever.
I watched Free Guy. That was the movie I watched.
Oh, Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I liked the movie.
I've never seen it.
I
you
really
think I'll like
enjoyed it. Yeah, I think you would.
Okay. Yeah, he's in like a
What
video game
a
or something.
shot by Marchand.
Oh, I remember.
Holy.
Did it go in?
Oh, he sniped it right up over his glove.
So I think Marchand getting snubbed will fuel him for the rest of the year.
Juju Smith-Schuster is coming back for the game.
They're going to get blown out.
Yep. What did you say about Marchand? Sorry.
Oh, I think him getting snubbed should fuel him going forward for the rest of the year.
I think it will, but I think there's because they're not going to the Olympics. I think then he's going to be pumped about having the rest as well, because that top line, they log a lot of minutes in a night, and him not going to the Olympics, not going to the All-Star game or the All-Star weekend, having that time where he can just kind of rest the body, get back into full health, all that stuff. He's got a broken nose, and he hit it again today, and he's got the tampon stuffed up there because it's bleeding again.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
Yep. So, yeah, I think honestly he's come out and said he doesn't care, which I truly think he doesn't. But I think it's because he's like, I get some time off. I get to go to sit in Mexico for the weekend instead of take the
positives.
Yep. Instead of playing. So,
all right.
All right. Let's, this has been a long one, Ian. Let's wrap this sucker up.
Yep. You can find our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, also Spotify, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Podchaser, Buzzsprout, and Google Podcasts. Hit us up on Twitter at NESG Pod. Hit us up on Instagram at NESG_pod. I want to say go Patriots and happy Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for listening. And sometime over the next couple days, we're going to start getting some stuff on YouTube as well. So subscribe there and help us build the brand a little bit. But yeah, go Patriots. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Our company doesn't give it as a day off, so I'll be working on Monday. And yeah, I'm excited to watch the game tonight.
Yeah, me too. It's the late game, right?
Yeah, 8:15
early game. Yeah, so we got until 4:30, so it's got an hour till the Raiders and Cincinnati tip off.
I'm gonna have to get pizza cooking and the warm or not warm the beer up, but bring it upstairs.
Yeah, put it in the right fridge.
Warm it up like the sausage.
Yeah. Graham was a whore.
All right.
All right.
I'll catch you later.
Take it easy.
See ya.